Okay, well, now we're going to do a summary of what we've already looked at, plus a few more nuggets that you might find quite interesting. So, we've already had a look at the second Exodus, Israel's prophesied regathering, and the 10 lost tribes of the house of Israel are regathered with fury poured out. All the wicked are cut off, including the false swearing make-believers and idol shepherds. God judges between sheep and sheep. We saw that. We had a look at Ezekiel 20, Israel's regathering with fury poured out. And Ezekiel 34, the idol shepherds destroyed. And Jeremiah 23, the second Exodus from the north country. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the north country too. And we have had a look at Psalm 83, how there's an international conspiracy to wipe out Israel, which will find its ultimate fulfillment in the actual tribulation itself. But we'll see these same characters conspiring against Israel before the regathering of the lost tribes. Because as Israel comes together, so do the enemies of Israel. In Zephaniah chapter 2, we saw that Israel would be gathered for judgment before the day of the Lord. And there's an aspect of the sinful kingdom within the current state of Israel. And there's also sin still within the lost tribes. So we're going to be gathered through judgment, and we're also going to be gathered for judgment. And there will be an ultimate separation between believing and unbelieving Israel. And this is not just believing Jews or unbelieving Jews and believing Christians. It's the Jews by this stage are already believing in Yeshua. Ultimately, there's a division between the 12 tribes, between those amongst the 12 tribes that are wise virgins and those that are foolish. In Ezekiel 37, we saw how the two sticks are joined, that the house of Israel and the house of Judah are joined after the house of Israel is actually raised up and God reveals who they are. They're like dry bones, like Joseph's dry bones that are brought from the land of Egypt and brought back into the land of Israel. So in the last days, the descendants of Joseph and the other lost tribes will be revealed who they are, and they'll be brought out of the Egypt of this world and brought into the land of Israel. And we had a look at Amos 9, how the raising of the tabernacle and throne of David is going to occur before the tribulation, and that the house of Israel is going to return and they're going to possess a remnant of Edom, showing that this must occur before the tribulation, because at the end of the tribulation Edom is actually destroyed in a future generation. So let's have a quick look at a very important verse. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they shall no more say, the Lord liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all the countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. And it could be that America is actually that north land, but there's a little bit of a twist and a turn on this north country, as we'll see later. In Jeremiah 3:18, as we've already read, the Jews will join with Israel, or the house of Judah will join with the house of Israel from within the land of the north. In Jeremiah 3:18 it says, in those days the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because in Jeremiah 46 verse 10, the north country is located near the Euphrates River. And that's where Babel was located, along the Euphrates River. And very interestingly, not only is the bulk of the house of Israel in the land of the north of North America, and not only and the bulk of the house of Judah is either in the land of Israel or they're in America, the north country. But there's more to it than that, because the largest American embassy in the world has been built in Baghdad. Iraq, near Babel, just 70 kilometres north of Babel. So the USA is actually setting up, or the elites within the United States administration, or behind the administration, the puppet masters, the world globalists that want to build the world without Yeshua, build the world without the cornerstone, build the house without the Lord of the house, are setting up shop in the Middle East. In any case, the house of Judah and the house of Israel are going to be joined together in this north country. And we see aspects of Babel all around the world. We see it in the stock markets, or we see it in the city of London, we see it in the Vatican in Rome. And Rome is part of the iron legs of the image of Nebuchadnezzar. But we can also see it on Wall Street. We can also see it in the World Council of Churches. We can see it in Hollywood. We can see it in many aspects of American popular culture and in the media, in the entertainment industry, in the financial system, in Wall Street, in the large international conglomerates, transnational corporations. Babylon is in all of that because Babylon is related to false religion and also commerce. So let's have a look at this, what the Americans, what the globalists within America have been doing. They came to Iraq in the Gulf War, the Second Gulf War, with George Bush Jr., and the Americans came in there to fight Saddam Hussein. But what has been the aftermath of that adventure? It hasn't brought the peace to the Middle East. It hasn't brought peace to Iraq. It's effectively divided Iraq into three different blocks: the Kurds in the north, the Assyrians, the Shiites, and the Sunnis. It's divided the nation, and it's made it very difficult for Christians to live in Iraq. It's actually made it worse, and it hasn't lowered the price of oil for anybody. But strangely, since there's been absolutely nothing to gain from all of this, it would seem, America has built the largest embassy in the world. The largest embassy, American embassy in the world, is actually in Baghdad, Iraq, 70 kilometers north of Babylon. And here's a picture of it right here. And if you have a look at this picture here, that gives you a better view. Now they've gone to a lot of trouble to build this fabulously opulent building that looks a little bit like the White House in some respects, but it's from this angle it looks like it's got Roman architecture. But if we have a look at it more closely, it's got architecture like that of ancient Babylon, which makes sense. If you're going to build in Iraq, you want to keep it in the character of the nation. But why are they doing all of this? Why are they building such a huge office? Here's a American GI standing guard. And it's hard work building Babylon, so you need to have some R&R, and there's a swimming pool out the back. And here's a plan view of it. There's the Tigris River, very close to the Euphrates River. And again, Babylon is just 70 kilometers south. So that's within the boundaries of most large cities. It's not far out of town at all. What's actually happening? Well, in Zechariah 5, we read about wickedness returning to the land of Shinar. And if you read the prophecy, you'll read that God's curse goes into all the earth against those that steal and swear falsely by the name of the Lord. So that means that God's curse is going to come against principally Christians and Jews that swear falsely by the name of Yahweh, because nobody else swears by the name of the Lord. It's basically Christians and Jews and various Christian sects and denominations. So God's curse is going to come upon those that swear falsely by the name of the Lord. And we've read earlier that before God brings out the house of Israel, He's going to bring the sword upon them. God's not out to destroy those that are truly following Him, but He will allow the enemy to do terrible things to Israel, to those that do not listen to Him. And wickedness is coming together and flying to the land of Shinar. And if you see that middle picture, there's a woman in a basket, and the woman is called wickedness, and there's two angelic creatures with the wings of storks that carry her in the basket through the air to the land of Shinar. And Michael Rood has interpreted this entire chapter as describing a nuclear missile. And although I think he's missing the main import of this chapter, that actual last days Babylon is actually being set up, he doesn't really talk at all about Shinar. What is the significance of Shinar? The significance is that is where the Tower of Babel was built, in the land of Shinar. They came to the land of Shinar and they built the Tower of Babel, and they said, come, let's build a city and a name for ourselves. They wanted to be famous. And they wanted to be together when God had said, go into all the earth and fill it up. But they wanted to come to one place and build a city. And it was a city of rebellion against God. And it was the beginning of paganism as we know it. And all the pagan religions of the world really trace their ancestry back to Babel. And in this picture you'll see that next to the Tower of Babel is the all-seeing eye above the unfinished pyramid with the words Novus Ordo Seclorum, which is New Order of the Ages. And in 1776 the Illuminati set up shop. It wasn't just the setup of America, it was the setup of the Illuminati's goal for a new world order. And of course that they want Lucifer as the all-seeing eye on top of the pyramid, but Yeshua is the cornerstone that the builders rejected. So they're going to try and build the world, the new world order, without Christ, through the wisdom of this world, the wisdom of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And we know that within that tree dwells the serpent, Satan. And we're now coming to the culmination of their plan to build a new world order. And America has really been the prototype of Babylon, where Babylon was a place where they mixed all the nations together, and they all came together as one. And America is such a place that had a Christian beginning to it, but it's also had a Luciferic beginning to it. It's had a Masonic, Illuminist beginning. And 1776 was the beginning of this plan. And Adam Weishaupt, the Illuminist, the Jesuit Illuminist, set up this new order. And the Jesuits are a Catholic order. So this all goes back to Rome, and Rome goes back to Babel. So this is the spirit that they're working in, the spirit of Antichrist. So America is being used as the prototype of last days Babylon. And they are now in the process of moving what they've built in America. The elites are moving that to the Middle East. And they're moving their capital where they want to build the United States of Europe. The United States of the Middle East. They're going to take the elite core of America, the globalist elite. They're going to set up shop in the Middle East after a Third World War.